Hello everybody, hi everyone on Zoom as well, lovely to see you all, lovely to meet you all, and it's a real pleasure to be here today. I think I was most nervous about the walk from the chair to here, but I thought amongst wobbly friends it probably doesn't matter if I fall over, so it's fine. So my name, like I said, is Rosie. I had ADEM, Acute Disseminated Encephalomyelitis, when I was 6, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the experiences and also my recovery and how that sort of shaped my life as an adult. And hopefully I get the clicker to work on time. Okay, so welcome to my world. There's a couple of things up here that are sort of representative of daily life for me. So my cat is a huge part of my life. You'll see him, he'll pop up later, Rolo Bear. I have lots of hobbies, lots of things that I enjoy. Sort of family's hugely important to me. And the heart in the middle is for my other half. He is a deputy head and he is not very sentimental, but he likes facts. So I thought I would put the heart in there for him because that's nice and factual. Okay, so my story. So I was a very normal sort of 5-6-year-old. I had a couple of siblings, or 3 siblings. I had cousins at the time as well, running around doing everything that normal children do. I was also quite a competent horse rider, even at such a young age. And my sister Jenny and I were remembering that I went on a pony trek when I was 5, just with sort of older family members, no leader or anything, just sort of trotting on this horse that was also called Rosie. So, you know, very, very typical normal child. And then, so the virus struck sort of out of the blue, I think is probably the best way to say it, like a bolt of lightning, perhaps. What I will say is that I look like this usually when I talk about my virus. So I will not talk too much about what happened. There's a slide that's coming that you can sort of see what happened and have a read for yourself. I won't be reading it out because I will look like that, but we can sort of talk around the after effects. So I'll give you a minute to have a quick read. So at the time I was 6, so literally just collapsed at school. It was it was a lovely, very experienced teacher who sort of had a bit of a spidey sense that something was not right. So we ended up in hospital quite quickly. My memory of this part, sort of from September is okay, but February, March time, it is patchy at best. But something I do have a very strong memory of, sort of once I was out of intensive care, is that I was very nervous about walking. I wasn't able to sit up either. And I was quite sort of nervous about getting back that sort of the trunk strength and the walking as well. And what the physios did was they put a rocking horse at the end of the bed. And I thought, wow, even as a child, I was like, oh, this is exciting. I want to get on that. So it took 6 adults. I was, you know, a tiny little 6-year-old, but it took 6 adults to support me on this rocking horse the first time I got on it. So that kind of gives you a bit of a flavour of the extent to which I was impaired at the time. But it was, I think, went from strength to strength after that. But I think that's something that I try and bring into my clinical practice as a speech therapist. I try and look at what is going to be motivating for this patient, because that was really motivating for me. And somebody thought about that, because they could have put a bike at the end. They sort of could have put anything, but they didn't. They put a rocking horse, and they knew that I liked horses. So I thought that was really very patient-centred care. Even as a 6-year-old, I thought that was patient-centred care. So I thought that, yeah, that was a really important part. Okay. Oh, Roller Bear, hello, my darling. He usually pops up if I feel a bit sad, so I thought it would be a nice bit of comic relief after such a emotive slide. So thinking about my recovery then, so I came home from hospital. I wasn't able to walk when I came home from hospital. I had a yoga ball, I suppose. I think, so Amazon was not a thing at this time, so it wasn't possible to just sort of buy stuff and have it delivered. And I believe my dad's friend had, we'd given us this yoga ball, but it was bright green and it had spiders in it, is what I remember from this. And I used to roll around on this because it was enabling me to move about a little bit more. So I progressed from the green yoga ball with the spiders in it to these big boots, and I was sort of clomping around. But, you know, little by little, exactly what Douglas was saying, it's the small wins. eventually went back to school. And what I wanted to talk about in these next couple of slides is sort of age ranges. So what happened from particular ages and what was important and what the struggles were. So Rosie, age 6 to 12, there weren't really any struggles. I mean, I couldn't walk very well, but in terms of how I felt about things, I was fine. I was happy. I was running about with my cousins and my siblings, and I was doing horse riding most weeks. I'm terribly allergic, eyes streaming with tears, terrible nose, but I loved it so much. I used to go, often swimming. I'm really lucky that my dad was a swimming instructor at the time, so we used to go swimming often, and it is without doubt thanks to swimming that my mobility came back as promptly, I think, as it has done. A bit wobbly here and there, but, it's a minor problem, I think. And, really enjoyed sort of being involved in school productions, so I didn't feel in any way held back by anything, wobbles, what wobbles. So that sort of changed a little bit when I became a teenager. I think I became a bit more aware that that I'd moved slightly differently. So I never lost any cognition. I never had any visual changes. I never lost any I never had any speech problems. Mine was very much a mechanical problem in the way that I see it. So mine was very much a walking and a strength and a right-sided difficulty. So in terms of sort of school, I never really needed additional support for learning, just a little bit of help here and there. But at this age, the physical things became a little bit more prominent. Still really enjoyed drama, did all the Duke of Edinburgh bits and pieces, really enjoyed those. But what I've put down here, so I did not have the strength to do my hair, okay? My right arm was not strong enough to get sort of up to this level to be able to do my hair, and it was an endless source of conflict between me and my mum, because her view of having nice hair was a little bit different to me as a 13-year-old having nice hair. So it was, we had a couple of disagreements over that, but that was important to me. I wanted to do my hair and I couldn't. And the other thing is I couldn't do a cartwheel. And all of my friends were doing cartwheels and I couldn't do one. And I was not very happy about that. So those, I think you can see I'm a little bit more angry at that point, but it was about the hair of the cartwheels. It wasn't the big stuff. So I was still kind of extremely happy, extremely hopeful, involved in everything. And generally life was good. And then things got a little bit more difficult. So we had a sort of a family friend who passed away when I was sort of 17, 18, and it triggered post-traumatic stress. And I started having sort of revisits of the difficulties and of the time that I'd spent in hospital, and that was a very tricky time. I had some help to get round it, but it wasn't great, I would say. It didn't stop me from getting my A-levels, moving to France, moving to Canada, moving to Uganda, sort of doing lots of other things that people generally do in their early 20s and getting my degree. But what I will say is that I had a lecturer, because I started my degree in French and drama. In week one, the lecturer said, yeah, it's great that you want to do drama, but don't ever expect to get a job because the way that you walk is too distracting, so nobody will employ you. I was 19 years old, and it was week one of the term. So I dropped that course, and I picked up Spanish instead, which was much better, and sort of enjoyed that. But that has stayed with me, and is something that I think about sometimes, particularly when I do other kind of performing. So I've taught performing arts for 6 years for the children, and I just think, I would never, ever want to be a person who made them stop believing in themselves. So I think about that, and it kind of fuels a bit of a fire, actually. So yeah, it was a bad thing to hear, but actually it's kind of galvanised me into making something better for other people. Yep, so I got my French and French-Spanish degree, my teaching degree, and then also my speech and language therapy MSc as well. So things were tricky at this time. I won't say they weren't, and they were more tricky than at any other time, but I was still able to kind of push through it, definitely with support of family, which has been sort of the underlining foundation of all of this. But it was hard work, I would say, this particular stage. And then as an adult, I mean, life's great, you know. I'm so lucky. I am extremely happy, and you know, I get everything done that I want to do. I can do my hair. I can do a cartwheel over a chair, which is great. So those things have been achieved. So I'm not worried. I have no worries about my own future. I started aerial hoop 2 years ago. It was something that I'd always wanted to do, and I was nervous, and I had an instructor who didn't really get it, I think is probably the best way to describe it, and was very nervous and was like, whatever you do, don't let go of the hoop. And the thing is, if you tell a wobbly person don't wobble, then that's not going to end well. So I didn't do too well really in those first few months. I used to cry on the way home most of the sessions, and my family were like, what are you still doing going to this thing? But then we had a new teacher. With this new teacher, I was like, right, you've got 1 week to convince me that you are good. Because the other teacher had said, I'd asked her to show me a move, and she went, to be honest, you're just too disabled for that. And I was so hurt. I was in front of the whole class. I was so upset. And so, yeah, I was not impressed. So that was the why I was like, with this new teacher, you've literally got 1 week to convince me. And I loved her so much. And it went from don't let go to, oh, whoops, Rosie's on the floor again, up you get. So it was the approach, it was so different. And I went from strength to strength. So in 6 months, I hadn't really achieved very much. 2 months later, that happened. And I had no idea that I could do that. And, you know, this is my weak arm holding on. So that's my entire body weight. My entire body weight is on my weak arm there. And, you know, I had no idea that was even possible. But, you know, this is what happens when you find the right teacher. Okay, so that's a huge take-home point. If you find someone that doesn't get it, find someone else who gets it. And I would say my Pilates teacher is the same. She's just always got it. She's just always understood and been motivating in the right way. So when you think about a conclusion, so my other half is really big on sport, and we were at a snooker game. We watched a snooker game a little while ago, and this guy who'd been off the tour a long time, but had been really well supported by his family, came back and to everyone's surprise, basically won the competition. And what he said at the end was this. And I thought, absolutely. You know, the win, my recovery is great for me, but I had the easy job in all of this. You know, all I had to do was get better and, you know, do the exercises and, you know, live my life. But when I think about what my family went through in the process, then absolutely the victory, that's theirs. That's absolutely theirs. And also, actually, I do have to add, when I was talking to my sister about this, so she's an anaesthetist, and she did say, Rosie, you also have to dedicate this to all of the hardworking healthcare professionals who looked after you, because you probably gave some of them a few sleepless nights in ITU. So I would also like to extrapolate this out to all of the wonderful, wonderful healthcare professionals who did help us at an extremely difficult time, both in the acute and also in the community, kind of moving forwards. Because I was seen by paediatricians and physiotherapists until I was probably about 16. So that was yes, family and my friends and my whole community, but the healthcare professionals as well, without a doubt. So when I think about the future, I have no worries about me. I really don't. I have the absolute privilege of having my little niece, my beautiful, beautiful niece. Hello, darling. So she is a wobbly girl for different reasons, but we're wobbly together. And she came home a little bit upset from school one day and said that she needed new legs because her wobbly legs were not good. And so I wrote her a poem. It's recorded on the audio, so I'm just going to take a seat because there's no way I can read this out without bursting into tears. So I'll let you hear it and then I'll come back for questions. Okay. Wobbly legs. So you ask if I can buy you a different pair of legs? But there isn't a shop that sells new ones. And anyway, you don't need new legs. Yours are strong and healthy. You can skip and hop and jump and stretch and ride your bike and swim and climb and stomp about when you get cross. See, you worry, my darling, but there's a wonder in the wobble. You see, you and I, we have mountains to move. But we were born with boots on our feet, fire in our bellies and courage in our hearts, even if they feel a bit sad sometimes. You worry, my darling, but everyone is different. No one needs to be the same. Children wear glasses and splints and hearing aids, and some have wheelchairs or tubes, because these things, well, they help us to see and hear and breathe and move about. And that way everyone can join in the race. Now, see, you and I, we feel cross sometimes when our legs don't do as they're told. But legs don't have ears, so it's tricky for them to listen. Never mind. We can try again tomorrow. My darling, you have nothing to hide. Your wobble isn't a weakness, it's an awakening. You and I, we have an extra sparkle. We are the ones who lived to write the poem. That's it. We are the ones who lived to write the poem. Did I get everyone? Did I get you all? That was the intention. There's no way I could even look at it without crying when I think about her and I think about me and like sort of 6-year-old Rosie. But yeah, so thank you very much. We are the ones who lived to write the poem. I'd like to extrapolate that out to all of you. So thank you so much for having me.